Every letter you typed, it became something else. Press K, the lamp lights up, but not K, something random, something the machine decided. Press K again, different letter, different every time. The Germans called it unbreakable. Their mathematicians had calculated the number of possible configurations. It ran to 10 quadrillion. That's a 10 followed by 16 zeros. Allied cryptographers stared at the intercepts and saw noise. Walls of letters that meant nothing. Messages that could have been weather reports, troop movements, submarine coordinates, and they had no way to know which or what any of it said. For years, the war ran on a secret the Allies couldn't read. But 3 men had already read it. They were not at Bletchley Park. They were not British. They were not working for Churchill or Roosevelt. They were Polish. They were in their mid-20s. And they had cracked Enigma before most of the Allied command had even heard of it, using intercepts stolen from a post office and mathematics so elegant it bordered on the surreal. Their names were Marian Rejewski, Jerzy Różycki, and Henryk Zygalski. History almost forgot them entirely. In 1929, the Polish Cipher Bureau did something unusual. They invited the top mathematics students at Poznan University to a special course. The course was secret. The students were told only that it involved statistics and language analysis. What it actually involved was code breaking. 3 of those students were exceptional enough to be recruited directly into military intelligence work. Marian Rejewski was 23 years old. Pause. He had studied statistics in Göttingen, Germany, which meant he had spent time inside the country whose communications he was now being asked to break. He spoke German. He understood the German mathematical tradition. He had, without knowing it, been preparing for exactly this problem. Jerzy Różycki and Henryk Zygalski joined him. They were given a room. The room had no windows. Pause. They were given intercepted German transmissions. They were told, read these. No one explained how. What they were not told, what they discovered only gradually, was that a French intelligence officer named Gustave Bertrand had obtained something extraordinary from a source inside the German military. Documents. Stolen from a post office in Berlin, passed to French intelligence, passed to Warsaw. Among them, Enigma operating manuals. Keys used in actual transmissions. The internal workings of the machine, on paper, in black ink. The Germans didn't know the documents were gone. Pause. They kept using the same system. Here is what Rejewski understood that no one else did. The Enigma machine had a flaw, not a mechanical flaw, a human one. At the start of each day, German operators were assigned a new master key, a rotor configuration, a plug setting, a starting position. But because radio transmission was unreliable, each individual message began with the operator choosing his own 3-letter message key and transmitting it twice in a row as confirmation. So every message started with 6 letters that contained a hidden structure. The first letter and the 4th letter were encodings of the same original letter, the 2nd and 5th, the 3rd and 6th. 6 letters, 3 pairs, all linked. Rejewski did not need to know what those letters meant. He needed to know the relationship between them. And if you collected enough messages, enough samples, the relationships began to form patterns. Chains. Mathematical chains that could be mapped, cataloged, and eventually reversed. He called them permutation groups. He had studied them in Göttingen. He had written them in notebooks that no one at Bletchley Park had seen, in a language most Allied cryptographers did not speak, in a country that most of Western Europe had already written off as a military afterthought. By the end of 1932, Marian Rejewski had reconstructed the internal wiring of the Enigma machine from pure mathematical analysis of intercepted messages. He had never touched the machine. He had never seen one in person. He had reasoned his way inside it from the outside, using nothing but algebra and stolen postal documents. He was 26 years old. The Germans were not standing still. Between 1932 and 1938, they modified Enigma repeatedly. They added rotors. They changed the plug board settings. They increased the number of possible configurations by orders of magnitude. Each time they upgraded the system, Rejewski and his team had to rebuild their attack from scratch. They built electromechanical bombs, decryption machines, the first of their kind, to automate the process of cycling through possible configurations. They were doing this in Warsaw, with limited funding, with no acknowledgement from the Allied powers who would eventually benefit from everything they built. In 1938, the Germans added 2 additional rotors to the Enigma's pool of options. The number of possible daily key combinations multiplied by a factor of 60. The Polish resources were not enough to keep pace. In July 1939, 7 weeks before Germany invaded Poland, the 3 mathematicians sat down with British and French intelligence officers in a forest outside Warsaw. They handed over everything, complete documentation, replica machines they had built themselves, the mathematical framework they had developed over 7 years. The British officers in that room were reportedly stunned. They had not known this work existed. 6 weeks after handing Britain the keys to Enigma, Germany invaded Poland from the west. The Soviet Union invaded from the east. The Polish Cipher Bureau evacuated south. Rejewski, Różycki, and Zygalski escaped across the Romanian border, made their way to France, and continued working, under French intelligence, in a chateau outside Paris, still breaking Enigma traffic while the war they had anticipated finally arrived. When France fell in 1940, they went underground, working under false names, moving between safe houses, continuing to transmit intelligence to Britain from occupied territory, using a network so fragile that a single informant could collapse it entirely. In 1942, Jerzy Różycki boarded a ship from North Africa back to France. The ship sank. He was 32 years old. Rejewski and Zygalski survived the war, but they spent most of it unknown, working in the shadows of an operation whose full scale they had made possible and would never receive credit for. What happened at Bletchley Park was extraordinary. Alan Turing was extraordinary. The work done in those huts shortened the war and saved millions of lives, and the historical record has honored it accordingly. But the bomb machines Turing built were improvements on machines Rejewski had already constructed. The mathematical framework that made Bletchley's work possible was framework Rejewski had already built. The British knew this. They had been handed it in that forest outside Warsaw in July 1939. After the war, the British kept the Enigma secret classified for decades. The full story of what Bletchley had done, was not made public until 1974. When it was, the credit, understandably, went to the British effort, to Turing, to Bletchley. Marian Rejewski was alive when the secret was declassified. He wrote a memoir. He gave interviews. He corrected the record, carefully and without bitterness, for the remaining years of his life. He died in 1980 in Warsaw, having spent 40 years watching his work credited to someone else. He did not appear bitter in his interviews. What he seemed, mostly, was tired of being a footnote. Historians estimate that cracking Enigma shortened World War II by 2 to 4 years. The phrase "shortened the war" is a strange one. What it means in practical terms is that somewhere between 14 and 21 million people did not die who otherwise might have. The Polish mathematicians made that possible. They handed the mechanism to Britain freely, completely, with no conditions, in a forest outside a city that was about to be erased from the map. They gave everything they had built. They received for decades almost no acknowledgement that they had built anything at all. There is a monument to them now in Poznan. 3 figures in bronze, young men bent over a table working. There is a park named after them, a street, an annual lecture series. Recognition came eventually in the way recognition usually comes. Late, formal, insufficient. But they did what they did regardless. 3 men in a windowless room in their 20s, in a country the rest of Europe was not paying attention to. They looked at the machine that was supposed to be unbreakable, and they broke it. Not with more resources, Not with more authority, with more rigor, with better mathematics, with the willingness to sit in that room until the pattern revealed itself. History almost erased their names. We don't let it. Marian Rejewski, Jerzy Różycki, Henryk Zygalski. In our next episode, a single Red Cross worker carried a list of 5,000 names, and the Nazis had no idea what she was doing with it.